sons of ex-Abia State Governor Theodore Orji. And the story is EFCC confirmed raiding the apartment of the sons of Mr. Orji, saying that it was not targeted at any member of the Abubakar's family, especially as Mr. Orji's son was arrested and his vehicles confiscated, which was the outcome of several weeks of training him in connection with the ongoing corruption investigation of their father. Your thoughts on this story, friend?
So it's one of those things where it's the presidency has said is like this is PDP is using this as a political push to, I guess, paint them as not being following the law, not being being partial in their actions.
Yes.
But they don't state that they actually didn't go into the apartment.
Absolutely.
EFCC doesn't say that, and then EFCC says this is not an order that came from the presidency,
Okay.
but the presidency is defending their action. So
I guess depending agent of government, I guess the stance the opposition takes on this, first of all, other than it being great fodder for targeting their main opposition, the APC, is they're proposing that this is still a Kansas City shuffle. You went into the property under the guise of going after this individual, but it was still handy for you to also interfere with the livelihood or the lives of the Abubakar sons.
yes, especially the article states, especially when the presidential candidate himself was also
Searched at the airport?
Yeah, on his arrival.
Like every other Nigerian citizen?
Not every other Nigerian.
Yes,
Every other Nigerian citizen is searched at the airport.
Yeah.
Every other.
So they're also saying that there are other things that PDP are pushing that are not true and all that. So it's starting to look like a political, dance around.
Is there any indication as to why then? Did they say why they raided it, or why they want to search it, so to say, or allegedly search it?
So they said they didn't search there. They didn't say they said they didn't search the Abubakars.
Yes, so they went into Orji's
Orji's
son's
sons.
apartment, which happens to be in the same
Same
building,
block,
and
yeah.
that was the target.
They said it's a target. They didn't say whether they entered or not. So they said this is a target. So
So
they didn't
Orji-
dismiss. We
so-
didn't go in there or not.
So according to the official lines, they want to search Oji's son's
Yes, so
apartment,
that's
not
what
that
they're
it was,
officially
Yes,
claiming.
yes.
All right, so
Yeah.
this, you can say this. You could also say the story then perhaps mischief.
But we don't know. They didn't say whether they went in or not. So
No,
they didn't
I'm just
dismiss
trying to
that.
stand on the other
It
side.
sounds like it. It sounds like mischief.
Thank you very much there. Food for thought for all of you out there listening as we move on to the next story. Speaking of food for thought, there's been a lot of back and forth with regards to the Lagos Free Zone and Ladol dealing with Samsung and vice versa. Now there's a story in from This Day newspaper that declares quite clearly and quite boldly court bars Ladol from ejecting Samsung from the Lagos Free Zone. A rather interesting one. And I am coming to you, Rika Message, for your thoughts on this story.
Yeah, routine court proceeding. I mean, this was an interlocutory injunction. So the main judgment on the issues, the long-running issues between Lado and Samsung, would actually be passed down on January the 25th next year. But in the meantime, the court has ordered that Samsung be free to moving on out of its yard, its employees, agents, service providers, which should be unimpeded or unrestricted by any of Lado's employees, agents, and service providers. So essentially, the entire idea is, for just as a refresher, so for those who are not intimately acquainted with this, Samsung originally won the tender for essentially the construction of the largest or one of the largest floating production and storage and offloading platforms for oil exploration. In the world, they had completed it. It's called the Engina FPSO, and it's supposed to be the spearhead of the exploration of one of the biggest oil fields that we have off our coastline, which was recently discovered. They have already delivered the FPSO. It's already been sold out, but apparently there has been some issues because of the difference in the interpretation of what the contractual responsibilities between Samsung and Lado have been. And because of that, Lado essentially shut out Samsung out of spot.
Yes.
One noting a couple of weeks ago, there was another, I think this was a Nigerian company in this case, that was also shut out of Lado apparently because the company says that they were owing administrative dues and charges and all of that. And it was something of it was a dispute of a similar nature that ensued between Samsung and Lado. So all guns die down, all cannons at ease. January is the date to note. It's also worth noting that lots of companies, lots of this administration has prided itself, at least rhetorically, in making a commitment to offering incentives for people to come into the country to invest. But these are the kind of things that people
make
who
it
actually want to
difficult.
take that step. You look at the situation with our biggest telecoms companies and all of that. So these are the kind of things that they will be watching, and that's why this story is an interesting one too.
Definitely is. Thank you very much, Sally Kemba said. I'll come back to you in just a bit. But first, Tunde, seeing as we're talking business here, shall we go over to this story from the Punch newspaper? DAPMan have suspended their depot closure. They've now given the federal government 5-day grace. Before it was a 7-day ultimatum. Now there's a period of 5 days of grace. They say that they suspended their earlier directive to shut down the depots nationwide, and they're waiting for the payment of the outstanding debt owed by that's owed to the marketers from the federal government. Now we dealt with this story yesterday, and Devo, exactly. We're always dealing with this story every Christmas time. Let's just remember that again, this is a debt that has come in from a previous administration. It goes back all the way to between 2009 and 2011, I believe. But what are your thoughts on this story and this back and forth of DAPMan?
Well, no matter how far back it goes, it's still, responsible for this current government to sort out. So, and like you rightly said, this is a running story. So this is the latest installment in this serialized, drama. In other parts of the world, we have 12 days of Christmas. We seem to have 31 days of Batman.
Wow, that's a line.
That's just what
Definitely
keeps coming, and it's what we have to deal with. Right?
Did you write that down, Val?
So the details, they've moved the ultimatum back. Remember in the last episode that they sort of issued an ultimatum.
Yes, 7 days.
7 days.
And even though, and that's despite the reality of they were in talks. People like Pengassan are sort of helping in the middle of this and saying, well, we're going to respect the reality of the talks, and we want everyone to consider what is best in the best interest.
Yes,
of
absolutely.
Nigerians. Yes.
So they slap on 5 more days to take us to the 14th. So we'll see how that goes. Now, but what's new in this is they say they've done this because of the intervention of well-meaning Nigerians. I always recommend to use that, well-meaning Nigerians, and they say especially as represented by the Senate Committee on Petroleum and Downstream Matters. And I'm like, okay, that committee is doing its job. We probably won't have to deal with these scams and so on, right? Well, that's where we are.
Okay.
What else have they said? So they owed 800 billion. An amount has already been
offered
approved by the National Executive Council, but it hasn't been paid. Remember that when that announcement went out, is when a number of their bankers ran on them and seized items and said, government has paid, you guys don't want to pay us. So it's cost them a lot of stress and pain. But it is what it is. The drama is rolling on. I just hope we're able to escape long queues at the fuel stations and we don't have to.
We can only hope. Thank you very much for that, Tunde. Now, is this hope for the LGBTQ community? That's our next story from the Guardian newspaper. Ezekwesili has promised the inclusion for the LGBTQ persons if elected president. Now, this has come about after Bisi Alimi, who is an openly gay Nigerian, accused her of being homophobic, saying that in 2009, when he was still the vice president of the World Bank, he refused to attend and even stop any attempts to rescue gay men who were caught up in the World Bank project in Tanzania. And we know that most recently Tanzania has taken a very hardline stance towards gay people. And in Nigeria, you can't forget that in 2014, it was President Goodluck Jonathan that enacted and signed into law the Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Act, which first of all stops same-sex marriages from happening, but also prohibits same-sex relations. But Ezekwesili has said during a conference that, everyone deserves equal opportunity. So that's really what she's focusing on, and that will define her time in government. Your thoughts on this?
So it's worth noting that in response to the actual allegation from Bisi Alimi, Ezekwesili said that she reached out to the Tanzanian government for the issues that she raised, and she essentially engaged with them at a national level. So she was surprised at Mr. Alimi's allegation. But the point is, she's right. This is a direct quote from her. It wouldn't matter to me what you believe in or what you choose to believe in. It's basically the fact that it's an opportunity to define my time in government. I mean, think about the fact that nominally, philosophically, we run a system of government in this country that should guarantee equality of access and opportunity to every person, irrespective of their affiliations, right? There have been people, even in the legal community, there have been noises that they have been conversations about the fact as to whether that 2014 law that was sent into that 2014 bill that was sent into law that was Goodluck Jonathan is inherently unconstitutional.
Absolutely, because it infringes on people's human rights.
Yes, essentially as well. But the point is, she's essentially right, and it's a commitment that every candidate has to make. It's not exactly one of those conversations that we like to have,
which is what I find
Yeah.
very interesting, that she's openly made this statement, because we do live in a country where these sort of conversations are particularly uncomfortable to have. People don't want to step in that direction. We can't forget, sort of interviews that were held with people like Duke,
Yeah.
where he, tried to sidestep
it.
the issue. But this is a very big reality.
But you know what? My cynical heart just came on. I'm like, it's worth noting. It's worth
Okay.
noting that Duke interview happened where in Nigeria, where the Ezekwesili talk about these things. It's a Chatham House, right?
Yes.
It's United Kingdom.
Yeah.
So you could make the argument there was an inherently more receptive audience to the idea she was talking about. If she was talking about this at some watering hole or some posh watering hole, maybe at Transcorp or somewhere here in Lagos or at the Institute of International Affairs.
Imagine the kind of reaction.
Yes, that's the point. But the point is the core message behind what she's saying is completely valid, right? And it's something that we should encourage, especially as this generation of young Nigerians continue to emerge and we continue to take cues essentially from our colleagues and our brothers and our sisters around the world. We really should be about guaranteeing every person. Right.
We should be. All right, thank you very much for that, Kemisu. We've got a few messages coming through, so I guess we'll get through to some of those messages.
Bengals says the presidency had to speak out because the PDP accused it of being irresponsible for the raid. Unfortunately, corruption in Nigeria is now a family affair. It is within the rights of the EFCC to search anybody's house if he or she is being suspected of corruption. Let's not be emotional about this. Machida says, good morning guys, let's believe that the Abubakars are not targeted, but what would they say about APC, about the freezing of Peter Obi's accounts? You see the way and manner APC is going at this 2019 election, it's going to be a Waterloo.
Going to be their Waterloo.
The EFCC definitely needs a warrant to search. So
Yes.
right? So it's easy to validate and verify what the search warrants.
Exactly.
Olatunbosu is still up on WhatsApp, says, before now, Nigeria was in a state of anarchy, in quotes, because nothing seemed to be working in all ramifications. Now that election is near, I expect nothing from these herds of unpatriotic, unreformed leaders, including Mr. Vice President, who recently went to a market to launch free Wi-Fi. And then he leads on into insults, which will not read out to Olatunbosu, because no matter how pained you are, this platform is not one for insulting.
Yes, we need to be respectful.
Thank you.
All right, let's come to you, Fred, for this next story from Guardian newspaper. Buhari appoints his wife, Dolapo Shibajo, as well to drug abuse panel. So the President Muhammad Buhari yesterday appointed both his wife Aisha Buhari and the wife of the Vice President Yemi Shibajo, Dolapo Shibajo, as both members of the Presidential Advisory Committee on the Elimination of Drug Abuse. The appointment was made, putting in perspective or in cognizance of the fact that they have a large-scale influence on mothers and women in general to curb the menace of drug abuse. We know, based on reports that fielded so far and really surveys that have been carried out, that in Kano, remember the statistic that was given, over 3 million bottles of codeine consumed within 24 hours. So based on this, the appointment has been made. I mean, elevating them to higher positions beyond the other room. What are your thoughts?
So this article in of itself, I think, is like 50 words. I think this speaks to kind of the attitude towards drug abuse. As you said, our population were like 50% or so, they're 0 to 25 or 30, right, of our population. And drugs and drug usage and drug abuse is something that is really affecting our young people.
It has a widespread negative effect.
So this is something that we should be as serious as appointing the FCC to go after corrupt, officials, dealing with drug abuse and dealing with the use of drug abuse and dealing with
use of drugs.
Dealing with the use of drugs and dealing with the individuals that are bringing in this drugs, or it's something that should be taken seriously. So I applaud the presidency for getting the First Lady and Vice President's wife into this. It's showing seriousness of this. I would rather this had happened a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. I have a quick question for you. Do you think this is in reaction to commentary? Because we know that the First Lady does speak out occasionally. Most recently, she spoke about unknown persons,
the
two powerful people in the background controlling her husband's government. And there have been commentary from the general public, even here at Smooth, saying that, well, she sort of needs something to do. She's a bit resentful that the president didn't give her a full office as a First Lady. And I'm just curious.
They're accused of being underemployed.
Something like that.
Oh, so you think there's a reaction to
I'm
that?
just curious as to why this would happen
Well,
now.
asking what you think.
Does this seem like compensation to you?
Or perhaps you think it's part of a campaign move since everything seems to be focused towards 2019. I'm just curious.
Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. As I said, this is a very serious
It
thing
is.
that
Very,
you know
actually.
that doesn't seem to have been taken as seriously as it should.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
Like,
So,
Yeah, you know, I was going to say the world. No, let me not say the world, but we've seen examples in Western democracies where first ladies or the most prominent spouse to the president is appointed to committees like this. You know, look over things that affect either mental health, drug abuse, or things that affect citizens. So exactly social media appeals. So it's not strange, and it's good in that regard.
yes, and interesting to know that the chairman of this committee is the former military administrator of Lagos State, Brigadier General Baba Marwa, retired.
Excellent. Let's just take a couple of very quick messages. Idi from America says, Tunde is very funny. 31 days of Datman and 12 days of Christmas. I guess there is a Nigerian version for everything. All up on Twitter, people taking offense to Obi's Ekwesili and I guess our commentary on her statement with regards to the gay issue. Chino XL247 says, no, we won't approve any gay or any nonsense. Let's stop following everything America does. Soon you will say churches should marry gay together. Right.
Okay.
I'm just trying to avoid saying anything that would have come back and bite me like Kevin Hart.
There you
Oh,
go.
I'm just
okay.
chilling.
And then you step down
Everybody
from the
brings it up for me
Oscars.
10 years after. No.
Tough times. Let's carry on.
So New Telegraph is next with this story. Nigeria Bureau of Statistics brought out a report to say increase in non-oil sector activities have pushed up our GDP, gross domestic product, to 1.8%. Kemesit, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so we've essentially been saying barely above the water growth, right? So
Yes.
we grew 1.81% in the third quarter compared to 1.5%. So some progress there. It was essentially fueled by strong growth in ICT, agriculture, manufacturing, trade, transport, and all of that. But so essentially the non-oil components of the economy. But for the oil components of the economy, we actually produced less oil during the third quarter, 1.94 million barrels against average production of 2.02 million barrels per day in the third quarter of 2017. And remember, then at the time, analysts were saying we are underperforming because typically we do 2.7, 2.8, like in the best of times.
Yes.
Yeah, that's essentially what we've been doing. So essentially, this slow burn growth that isn't doing so much for the vast majority of Nigerians is being powered by all the other sectors except export products. And so this is the large takeaway from
Which is
the
oil.
NBSs. Yeah, which is oil.
So what does that say? Are we safe? Are our finances safe? Because we see all these reports coming out. It seems as if they are responding to criticisms of full disclosure, and then you wonder, is this sort of a buffer just to discourage Nigerians from thinking along the lines of another inflation or something?
Yeah, I mean, no offense to you, all of the economic and financial analysts out there, including Rotus, no offense to Business Express and all of that. But the point is, you don't need any sophisticated form of economic commentary to answer that question. The simple answer is no, we're not safe. It is what it is. We've got to ramp up. Obviously, we've got to ramp up production in another sector of the economy. So I suppose, from the standpoint of economic diversification, it makes sense. But the point is, what are the smart policies? What are the smart, regulatory steps that we are putting in place in ICT, in agriculture, in manufacturing, for example, in services?
Because CBN has been pumping money in agriculture lately.
They say they have been pumping money into agriculture, lately. Yeah. But the point is this: it's one thing for you to grow on paper; it's another thing for you to feel like you're growing, right? And this economy doesn't seem to pass on that feeling or that impression that a lot more Nigerians are doing better at this time in 2018 compared to this time last year. And I suppose that's in the end the real big picture takeaway from
Seems
this.
as if we're adding weight, but we're not eating healthy. Maybe.
Your words, no man.
Okay. Moving on now to this next story from Daily Times. Vote buying. INEC boss urges National Assembly to pass Electoral Offences Tribunal bill. So it seems like a trade of words between both the legislature and the body conducting the elections, INEC. The umpire of the elections, as they say. It's ahead of 2019 general elections. The Senate President Bukola Saraki with the Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara, they both took a swipe at the security agencies of INEC categorically blaming them for being solely responsible for vote buying and sometimes being complicit to that. But then in reaction, INEC says, no, we discourage this as well. I mean, you should actually pass the Electoral Offences Tribunal bill into law, as recommended by Waste, Lemo, and Ken Namani Electoral Reform Committees. Your thoughts?
Yes, it was more election banter. So Saraki and Bugara essentially tell they tell INEC, and it's a security agency. Obviously, most of these characters INEC being a security agency being shrouded in mystery, and saying that they need to conduct free and fair elections and all of that. And it's a bit tongue in cheek, especially if you consider the fact that INEC is legally probably not as empowered as it could be.
Yes.
You know, people get caught under the no laws to convict them, so convict them of those offences. So he's quite right in that everyone needs to play their part. INEC needs to play its part. The security agencies need to play their part. They need to conduct free and fair elections because to do otherwise is a threat to our democracy, which is a threat to our nation and our country as a whole. Sorry.
Because because if you consider it, there's another aspect I'd like you to touch. I mean, the one report I read earlier on this year, they were talking about how the punitive measures are meted down on, again, a part of the Electoral Offences Act that we've had since 2000, that was operating for 2015 as well, where certain officers who are caught in this financial incentives and vote buying in essence are given a slap on the wrist.
Exactly. So which is why this the Electoral Offences Tribunal becomes essential. I mean, we know how the electoral law, passing the new amendments to the Electoral Act have gone, and a bunch of these offences probably would have been taken care of that point. Since that is moribund or stopped, this is essentially a workaround to get some of. Okay, let's remove all the politically charged issues from that and just take out offences, put it within a bill that the National Assembly has full control over.
Yes.
They have control over that. Let them pass the right bill into law, so that when electoral offences are committed, that people can be brought to justice.
I want to add to something, right?
Yes.
So the thing now that the politicians have to buy votes is indicating something that the power is coming to the people. Remember past, they would just go into a room and stuff ballot boxes and present the results to you. So I want this, even if they're passing a law or whatever, you have to actually understand, so it's not like the people's opportunity to be able to defend what is their choice will be taken from them. You understand?
Thank you very much. Moving on to Punch newspaper right now. Protesters, police arraign Ashore's supporters for destroying campaign posters. So 6 supporters of the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Shore, were arraigned on Monday before an Ikeja magistrate court for allegedly destroying the campaign posters of other political parties and candidates in Lagos State. What are your thoughts today?
Yes, politics of posters. You'll be amazed at how deep it can go. And there is quite a lot of it because typically for you to put up campaign posters in Lagos, then you are not allowed to place them on the wall. So then that brings in the advertising agency, the LASRA, yes. Yeah, LASRA. And you need to get a license, and then we talk of certain political parties not being able to put up posters because they've not gotten licenses. Trust me, they'll get the license after the elections. Come February or March,
and last week we talked about PDP alleging that their state posters were pulled down. Just Monday we saw a lot of them replaced.
Exactly. So the politics of posters really the politics of posters really runs deep. Now, if you look at this now, let's remember I said that putting up posters on the walls are supposed to be illegal, right? Now, if you look at what these guys were caught with, supposing the exhibits reported recovered from protesters were bearing pictures of the presidential candidate that is showing himself, brushes, buckets containing gum. I'm surprised it's not OBO and the posters from other political parties. So these guys were going to go and put up posters on the wall, illegal posters, so to say, and they're taking down illegal posters. So I'm a bit confused as to why they're holding them for taking down the posters of another party and not holding them for putting up legal posters to deface the walls. It's a bit confusing. But down to legals, they've been given a bill of 50K to bring 2 shorties for putting up posters. some of these guys think about the fact that we have a lot of people in our penal system because they can't meet 2,000 naira bills or 5k bills or something like that, and see how that's swollen.
5k being 5,000.
Sorry, 5,000 naira, and see how that effect that that's had on us. So these guys put up with. So Showore probably doesn't know these chaps. If he reads this story, maybe you'll have to turn them.
How did they even find out that they were supporters of Showore, for instance? Do they have ID cards on them?
A lot of questions.
That makes sure already poster child.
Oh wow.
Oh,
That's all I wanted to say.
All right.
Well done, Ikemese.
Thank you. Gracias.
Moving on now, very quickly, to Punch newspaper. ICC probes sexual violence allegations against the military. So the International Criminal Court has said that it is reviewing information accusing the Nigerian military of sexual violence against women and girls in camps of internally displaced persons. There have been a lot of complaints, being fielded from IDPs talking about the abuse that they've been experiencing at the hands of the military. What are your thoughts on this, Fred?
This is kind of similar to the case we had yesterday. It's just sad when you have a thing where so the military is supposed to protect the people. Then women are probably the least,
most vulnerable.
They're the most vulnerable to this, and then they're the ones that are being preyed on. It's obviously, we also from the articles yesterday that the military are going through like difficult or unproductive environment too. But you don't put your stress on the people you're supposed to be protecting.
Especially with this. Excuse me, disturbing reports we've got in the past few weeks or the last week. The first time the stories trickled and how they were exchanging, gratification for
protection.
So things that they're supposed to freely give to these people are now what you have to pay with your.
So taking advantage of them, and then it's clear all across through history. I mean, violence against women and children and sex and rape have been used as weapons of war.
Yes.
And a lot of that has happened in Africa. If they can, it wouldn't take a lot to pull out that, most likely, I don't want to say any absolutes, but most likely that it's the same as happened on our own soil. I just wonder how much support the ICC will receive, or how willing people will be willing, to come forward and cooperate in such investigations.
Yeah, but it was stated here, the ICC also, there's another thing in the case that the Boko Haram members themselves, the government isn't doing much, to prosecute the offenses they too have committed.
Okay.
All right. We'll round up with messages that have come through. Madupe from Ikoyi addressing a comment that was made on Twitter earlier says, I'm rolling my eyes at the person that commented that gay rights is copying the West. If we actually read history, we would know that there's nothing Western about homosexuality. There are many African tribes that had same-sex partners until Western missionaries came in to abolish such practices.
Interesting.
And that is factual, actually.
No idea.
Even in Nigeria at the moment, it still exists, actually. Yes, you'll find in places. But if I mention it now, people will shout. But just do the research, yes. Osa from Abolegwa says, please note, it is not Lastra for adverts, it is Alasa. That's, yes, thank you very much. And still more coming in up on Twitter. IK Lewis from Apapa says, we must start having these conversations about the LGBTQ. I know we live in a cultural society, but globalization is here to stay. And as for drug abuse, have we need to discuss I think we also have a need to discuss marijuana use, I believe is what he's saying. Wamuduka says, I remember Richard Quest visiting Smooth, yes, last year, and saying something along the lines of slow growth feels the same as a recession. Like Rotis and the gang mentioned this morning, with population growing at 2.6% yearly, we need the GDP growing faster than the current rate to feel any impact. That is absolutely correct.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming into the studio. That's our analyst at Judge Ike at Ikemese Young, and then of course Fred Allison at Mr. FB Allison, and Tunde Kofi.
At Big Cuffs. Thank you to Chino who sent in this message, again saying that amongst you who in the studio would be happy if his son is gay. What is bad is bad.
There's nothing to do
I would say that I would just be happy to have a son. So thank you very much for sending in that message.
Coming up next, I think that's the start.